My name is Amy Denstedt. I'm the founder and owner of Taylor Transitions. We are a full-service move management company for seniors and their families. So we support seniors that are moving from their long-term homes into retirement residence or long-term care residences. We like to help them with full service, so we do the initial consultation, we do the planning, packing, any downsizing or decluttering. We organize movers, and then we help the family set up their new retirement residence at the end so that when the senior moves in, everything is set up and ready to go. I was lucky. I had 6 grandparents that most of them lived well into their 90s. So we moved them quite a few times. So I did have some experience with that, with helping to facilitate their moves into their new retirement residences. So that was part of it. I've been in the Waterloo region for a long time, so I knew that we have some really well-established neighborhoods in Waterloo region. People live in their homes for a long time in Waterloo region, but we're also really lucky to have over 50 retirement and long-term care residences in the community. So I knew that there was a gap from people that had been in their homes for a long time and were looking to transition into retirement care. So there was an opportunity there, and from my experience with my family and trying to help them move, I knew that there was an opportunity to help people through that transition and support them with that. So I thought I would take that on, and I've always had a background in customer service too and customer support. So for me, that helped lead into it, is I like to help people through it. And it's especially when they're dealing with something that's a little bit more challenging, you have to think outside of the box. That sort of fit what I like to do to start with. So education-wise, I had a background in human resources. I had a certificate from Conestoga College in human resources. And then when I was working, I have always been in customer service. So I have 20 plus years of customer service experience in different organizations and different roles. But I've always been forward-facing to the customer. It was always really important to me to be sometimes even the middleman to support people through whatever it is that they were looking for, whatever challenges they had. I always like to do that. I always like to help people. So it was a sort of natural progression from the customer service side and customer support to just move into continuing to support people and be there when they need help. So that was my background, and it seemed to fit in, which was nice. Highlights are always when I'm able to help somebody, right? So any of the clients that I've moved to date, that always becomes a highlight reel for me, is being able to support my clients. When you have families that come back and you can see how much they appreciate the support that we're able to provide and how much we can help them, that always is a highlight reel for me in the long run. Some other highlights, I think, are just the emotional side of it. It's being able to take that stress away for other people and be able to help them through their journey and through their transition, because moving is a lot. It's always a lot to manage. I mean, it's a lot for us, but when you're a senior and you've got, you might have mobility challenges, you're not sure what next steps are, you don't know how to arrange necessarily all the components of the moving, whether it's the movers to begin with, the coordinating of the retirement residence at the other side. It can be overwhelming. So I find it very rewarding to be able to help people with that and to help families and just see that sort of that stress melt away, that they know that they can entrust me to take care of those pieces, and that becomes, a highlight for me and the business to work through that with them. Some of the challenges are probably sheer logistics. Like I mentioned, moving is always, different. There's different components. There's different coordination of things that you have to take care of. So that can be a challenge. I mean, just trying to run a business as a solopreneur is also difficult, right? You have to manage when you're out taking care of things for clients, but then you've also got things that you need to be doing at your desk and at the office. And so trying to find that balance is always challenging. Obviously, too, as being a solopreneur, but then having a family as well can be challenging. So again, trying to find the balance and making sure that you're making time for your family, time for yourself is really important, and try to make sure that I'm cutting that time out and making sure that I'm making space for that is important just for my own mental health and well-being as well. So I try to focus on that as much as I can. I think maybe the only thing that I would do differently currently was that I maybe would have started a little bit sooner. I had the idea in the back of my mind for a while and waited for the opportunity to sort of present itself. And I maybe would have started a little bit sooner to get at it. But I like to do things methodically. So it was important to me to make sure that I had all my ducks lined up before I took the business on and got going with it. And then it was really important to me that all the pieces were in place before I presented the business to my clients and to the outside world. So that was important to me. But I think maybe I would have started a little bit sooner or had more trust in myself to get going, which is important. Obviously, I went and had a conversation with friends and family and, put the idea out there and wanted to get some feedback on how other people thought that it would go. But I think if I had put a little bit more trust in myself from the get-go, which I think we're all guilty of sometimes, right? But I think if I had done that, I maybe would have got started a little bit more. But I'm happy with the way things are going so far.
Well, great.
Yeah, I definitely try to work on the networking component of it. That's huge for myself and for my business. A lot of my business comes from referrals and networking and events like that. So I definitely try to focus on that. Also try to work on professional development, always being curious, always trying to learn more. It's that age-old adage where it's always learn something new every day, right? And when I'm out and working with my clients and things like that, there's always something that maybe triggers and I think, I'm going to go back and look into that, find out what that means. So I think it keeps you young and keeps you moving if you're always curious and always reaching out to learn more. So that's important to me too. And making connections with the right people, right? And learning how to build your team or your networking or just your crew behind you, that people that you can depend on and count on or just go to if you've got questions, especially as a new business and a new business owner. It's important for me to have those people in place that I can trust and that I can go to for questions to support my business as it grows. For me, success is making sure that clients are happy and feeling less stress and feeling connected with their new space. Success for me is making sure that families are still connected, right? Because there can be a lot of stress and a lot of overwhelm, and family dynamics are tough, right? It's hard when you're taking on a big project like moving, especially for someone who's been in their home for a long time. It could be the family home. There's a lot of dynamics involved in that. So success for me is coming out at the other side where the client is in their new suite and they're feeling comfortable and they're relaxed and they're happy, and you see that family unit sort of come back together and there's not as much stress as there was before, and they're feeling relieved that things are taken care of and that they're feeling good. So for me, that's a big part of the success. Alternatively as well, success for me is referrals, getting people reaching out and saying that they heard from somebody else about my business and they're interested to learn more, and bringing opportunities to me to support people. So for me, that's a way to determine success as well, because if people are reaching out and you are getting referrals, then I think you're doing something right? And that's important. So every client is different and every scenario is different. Every story is different, right? So part of that initial consultation is to get to know the family, get to know the client, learn all the ins and outs of what they're dealing with, what the circumstances are, because you don't want to just go, charging in and take a hold of everything, and because that can add to the chaos that may be already there. So it's important to get in and get to know my clients and understand what their goals are, what their timelines are, what they're working towards, right? So that we can figure out how best to help them through the situation and help them with their move. So for me, that's really important. And like I said, for every family, it's different. So you have to sort of reset after each one so that when you're going in, you don't have these expectations and you don't have these assumed biases because you've done another project before that you can't assume it's going to be the same, right? So, but then when I'm actually working with clients, I really try to pay attention to how they're handling things, what they're feeling like, checking in with them on a regular basis, right? And providing constant feedback and going back and forth with them because they want to be involved in the process, right? And especially if they've been in their homes for a long time, they have a lot of questions. They want to make sure that their belongings are being handled appropriately and taken care of. So I would like to include them in the process as much as possible. So having those regular check-ins and just, keeping them updated and letting them know how things are going, that's important to me. I mean, that's just good customer service and customer support, is making sure that you're providing that feedback and giving them, updates on how things are going. That helps, I think, a lot of the time is people only start to get caught up in themselves and caught up in questions and concerns when they don't know what's going on, right? And that's human nature. That's how we are. We get, worried and upset when we can't see what's coming down the tunnel, right? So, but if you can try to reduce that as much as possible, then that helps to make them feel more comfortable and make the whole process smoother, I believe. Definitely compassion and respect, number one. I mean, and in both of those cases, they play huge roles in my business, right? Like I mentioned before, people are worried about what's coming in the future. They're worried about their belongings. They want to make sure everything's taken care of. There's lots of family dynamics going on. So I think being compassionate about what people are going through, what changes are coming for them and how they're managing that is key, right? Making sure that you're compassionate about understanding those components is important. And then respect is huge, right? And again, it comes back to human nature and just who we are as people. Everybody wants to be respected, and they, my clients don't want to be treated like children. They want to be treated with the respect that they deserve. And so if you go in and you treat people with respect and show them that you care and you value their time and their belongings and everything else, then I think everything just runs more smoothly, and it builds that trust, right? It builds that trust and that consideration that they want to have with you, that develops the relationship for both sides. Well, we're a small team right now, a team of one on most days. But I think, again, it comes back to working with people that have the same values and morals, right? Working with, bringing on team members to support tailored transitions that, understand respect and understand compassion and really like what they do, really like being involved in what we're doing, which is supporting people, right? And if they have that already in their background, then that certainly helps, right? But I think you have to have those core values of respect and compassion and wanting to support people, because that's really what we're doing all the time is helping other people, right? And you have to sort of have that in your bones. If you're not empathetic or, can't get past some things that might come up, then that's going to be a challenge. You need to be willing to work with people and understand how they're processing things and processing the transition that they're going through, right? So I bring in contracted team packers to help my team. So they come in and we do all the packing and things, but then I also contract movers. And again, the movers are working for me. They're contracted for me. So that's really important because they're a representation of me and of the business, right? So it's important that they have the same sort of guidelines because they're coming into people's homes and they're representing the business and myself. So it's important that we build that relationship as well. So I try to build that relationship with the movers that I use so that they're comfortable, I'm comfortable, everybody's comfortable with working together and making sure that that move goes smoothly. One of the advantages is that I'm local, so I've been here for a long time, so I know the area, I know the community. It's familiar for me, so that's a benefit for myself and for my clients, is because I know the area well, so I can speak to different locations, I can speak to different retirement homes. I'm building relationships and with retirement homes and long-term care homes as well. So I can speak to that with my clients and give them that direction. I had a client that was moving from Elmira to Waterloo. They were concerned about keeping their car and driving with roundabouts, and we had a conversation about whether that was a smart idea, but because I knew where they were going and because I used to live on that side of town, I knew exactly which roundabout they were talking about, whether or not that was a smart way to go. So it helps build, again, back to trust. It builds that relationship with the client, because if you're familiar with your surroundings, then they trust that you know what you're talking about. And the nice thing about Waterloo Region is while we're growing, it still has that small community feel, right? Everybody's really closely knit, I find, and the networking opportunities around Waterloo Region are huge because everybody seems to know everybody else, and if you don't, you're somehow connected and things like that. So I think that's great. It's nice to be working in a large region, but at the same time have it feel like a small community, I think. I'm inspired by the opportunity to help people. It's something different every day. I just had a conversation with somebody about that today, actually, that my work is something different every day. There's always something new going on, and so it's exciting because I wake up and there's something different than what was happening yesterday, right? So even if I'm still working on the same project with a client, it's going to be a different day, right? There's going to be something else going on that day. So it's exciting that way. I'm inspired because my business provides me an opportunity that it might be something I can hand down to my kids in the future. So that keeps me motivated. It allows me to include them in the conversation, right? To let them know they can see how I'm working, they can see how the business is running. I include them in those conversations. As they grow, there will be an opportunity that maybe they can help me with different parts of the business as well. So that keeps me motivated and inspired to keep progressing and keep things moving, is the opportunity to build the business and to potentially bring them on if they want to do that. So hopefully we'll see how that goes. But yeah, being able to include my family in it is important to me as well. So that's inspiring for me. For other women that are looking at, entrepreneurship or starting some sort of business on their own or getting out there, I think it's important to do the research. Do the market research. Is there a demand for the business? Do you see a need that exists out there? I think that's important, is to make sure that as a woman, as a female, we have a lot on the go between, raising families and taking care of ourselves and taking care of our homes and, just trying to get through life on the day-to-day. You don't want to waste your efforts, right? So I think it's important to make sure that you're doing your research and you're putting all your efforts in to make sure that it's a viable opportunity, right? I think that's important. I think making sure that you have a support system in place, that you have those individuals that you can go to, that you trust, that you can ask questions of, whether that be your network, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it's a complete stranger, but somebody that happens to show an interest, then I think that's important as well. But, having that network of support around you is important, especially as you're working through the stages of starting your own business, because it's a lot to do, and when you're trying to manage all things at all times, it can be a lot. So I think it's important to have those people with you. But Yeah, it's exciting, right? And then the other thing is, I think, make sure to share your wins and put yourself out there, because you never know who else is going to be able to support your business or want to support you and the business. So I think putting yourself out there is important as well, and getting out and not being afraid to, do things like this and have those opportunities, because you don't know what opportunities might come of it, and that could be a huge win, right? Obviously, to continue to expand the business and bring on more clients. That's always the goal. It's big, hairy, audacious goals are fun. Bringing on a team, I'd love to be able to hire locally and support, stay in the region, but bring on teams that are available to help, and potentially have more than one team on the road would be amazing. Growth is what I think most people want, is to be able to expand, but also make it manageable, right? I also want to make sure that I still be able to deliver the service that our clients expect and that they deserve, right? So, growth is great, but if it gets out of hand and then the quality slips, that's not great. So that's important to me, is making sure that we're still delivering the best customer service that we can for our clients, and that people are still appreciative in the long run of the services that we're providing. So that's important. But yeah, I would love to, expand the business, bring on the family, things like that, and see how it goes in the future. They can visit my website at tailoredtransitions.ca. They can also check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram.